chill time. We're in chill time right now. Just kind of getting stuff ready. Just saying hi. If you're in the chat, say what's up. And if you're not here, don't say what's up. I'm bringing up my notes here. How is everyone doing today? Let's see. Got my first notes and my second notes. Oops, those are wrong notes. Here we go. Here we go. Did I get it? No, still didn't get it. Error. Why do I have an error? Receiving enough video to maintain. The secret weapon AB says, yo, yo, yo. Oh, hey, it's you. I can tell by your username. What's up, man? Not your username, your avatar pic. My buffering is going on. I don't know what's going on there. I have 285 dropped frames. That's not good. What is happening, bro? Okay, well, I'm gonna have to try this again. Yeah, I'm gonna stop this really quick. I will return. Okay, are we here now? Is this working? Is this working? I'm trying to see if my frames are dropping or not. Smooth on your end. That's good to know. Okay, well, it seems like it's going now. There's no dropped frames here. Strange. Okay. Well, why don't we get started here? It's no longer chill time. Get out of here. We're now doing our game. Here he is. Okay, what's up, fam? Let's see what I forgot what the developer's name was. Oh, I think this is, shoot, what is this? I forgot their name, bro. Let's see, this developer is Helix Star. That's what it is. All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Games Over Qualia. My name is Devon. If you've not been a part of this stream before, what we're doing is we have 4 different parts. We have the first part, which is this open kind of part where I just talk to you guys. Then we have the second part, which I will go into my experience, my first impressions of this game. Then we'll take a break where I talk about your questions. If you have any comments, I will not be talking about your comments while I'm delivering, but rather in between the 2 pieces. And then when we get to our third part, that is the dev's intentions. We'll talk about what the dev had said when they had sent this game in and we'll talk about their answers a little bit. And the fourth part will just be an open discussion until we end, until we feel like it. So that is what the plan is for now, and let's get to it. This game, alrighty. So this game is called Cyber Volley. Sorry, my notes are screwed up. Where's my notes, bro? There we go. Okay. Okay, so this game is called Cyber Volley by Helix Star. This game, as you can see, is an action kind of puzzle game, sort of an action puzzle. And I want to go through my first impressions of this game. So when I first booted up this game, it was a little odd to me because it has this kind of sob story. In fact, it's not in this gameplay segment, but in this kind of story, it was the way that it begins is you're playing as this girl named Sona, and Sona is I believe it seems to be maybe mid-20s. I don't know, some younger girl, and she had lost her father, and she she has the dream of becoming a cyber volley star, I believe. And it's quick clips that it shows in the very beginning of the game, where it's just it's not motion, it's just like a comic book type of thing where it's just still frames, and it shows Sona kind of dreaming that she wishes she was one of these cyber volley stars. She said she's always wanted to be one, and cyber volley is like this kind of thing that you're seeing right here in the gameplay. This is what cyber volley is. It's like a new type of game that exists in the future. It's some type of single player type of game. So that's what she wants to be. She wants to be this action star, right? But her mother is sick and her father has died. So she needs to stay home and take care of her mom. And she has this dream that has kind of gone out the window. And she says that she needs to provide for, I guess, for her mother. She has, I don't remember exactly. The text is very, very small when it talks about it. I don't mean literally. I mean, like, it doesn't say much in the text when she talks about the story. So it is from her point of view. But then she gets a cereal box prize, like a ticket that she pulls out, kind of like a golden ticket looking thing. And this ticket allows her to be a part of this sports center. And she says, hey, finally I can live my dream. And she goes to it. The little thing that I didn't really understand is she's going to live her dream, but who's taking care of her sick mother at this time? I'm not sure. So anyway, so she becomes a part of this cyber volley tournament. And that's where your gameplay starts. And you start as it's a very simple game, as you can see in the thing here. It's not. There's like some action elements to it, and there's some puzzle elements. It's basically single screen puzzles like these, and it's just separated by. I think each level has around 6 segments, right? Each or maybe 3 standalone puzzles like these. There's like a bunch of them into that one little level. And then once you complete that level, then you get a grade rating for how well you did. And that's the game. You just keep doing those levels over and over. So my first impressions of this was a little weird. Like I said, in the very beginning, it felt like we were having on this kind of sob story that I felt like was going to do something with my gameplay, but it never seemed to come into play. There's characters in this game. There's 2 other people that you can talk to, and it's during the moments where you are in the hub world, right after you complete a level or whatever. Just before you go on to the next level, you go into this little hub world, and there's 2 people you can talk to. And actually, just before you play each segment, you can also talk to those people again within the, I guess you could say, the starting line, just before you start the actual level itself. And so you talk to these people, and there's 2 characters. One of them, I forgot their names. Yeah, I forgot the names of the characters. But what's going on here? Why am I paused? Why am I paused, bro? What's happening? There we go. Just paused the game for a long time. So the 2 characters that you can talk to, there's this very rich girl who is uppity, and I think that's the word to use. I don't actually know what that term means, but she's insulting and she's mean to you. She treats you as trash. And then there's another person who is very friendly to you and gives you a lot of advice about what to do in the game. This is what was weird to me, was the game is a tournament type of game, right? It seems like it, right? You're entering a cyber volley tournament, qualifiers, I guess is what it is. And I never felt any pressure to continue forward to, really do the tournament to qualify, right? It was interesting to have this world that really seemed like it was evoking kind of this Sonic the Hedgehog kind of flavor to it. This Sonic Advance is actually what the way that it looked like to me. And what was weird about it is, like I said, I didn't feel the pressure to continue forward. I didn't feel like I needed to get the best grade. I didn't feel like I needed to beat these other people. It just felt like the people were just there. And I haven't completed the game. There's a lot of levels in this game, quite a lot. But I didn't feel the pressure to complete it. I mean, I completed something, and I can't remember how many levels I completed. Maybe 17, maybe 20 or something. And like I said, each one has like a pack of 3 to 6 levels. I can't remember. So there's quite a lot. The gameplay itself is fine. It's fun. It's interesting and it's not convoluted. It's very easily communicated. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Good game juice. It's quite polished. I think I like the interaction a lot. There's nothing bad with that at all. The only thing that I was weirded out by was why I wasn't felt. I didn't feel pressured to move forward. And it's like, when you play something like Sonic the Hedgehog, or we'll think of a more other single screen stuff. Why do I keep pausing the game? What is going on here? If I think about other single screen puzzles, or not puzzles, but I guess action games, I think of Super Crate Box was one. I can't think of many others on top of my head, but like the point in like Super Crate Box is to get as many crates as possible before you die. It's like a one shot deal, and the point to get those crate boxes is to get the number to go up, and that's it. In I don't know, in Super Mario Bros, you got to continue forward to get to the end of the level. Like the point of all these is that they push you to go forward because there's a counter involved, or some sort of thing that is saying, hey, there's a total here that you need to get to and you haven't gotten there yet. Or even Sonic the Hedgehog. When you play Sonic the Hedgehog, there are different levels that do give you actually different ratings. I believe they did that in Sonic Advance. I'm not exactly sure, but I do know in the 3D Sonics that they push you forward by saying, there's a story happening on the outside, and each successive level is unlocked because you did the one previous. Now, this one does work similar, where once you complete one of these levels, then you unlock the next level. So it seems like, okay, well, I know which direction to go. I should play some more, but I didn't feel that pressure. So what do I mean by pressure, and why didn't I feel that? The more that I looked at this, the more that I analyzed it, the more I was understanding that there's no lose state in this game, and I didn't even really understand that. When I was playing the game, you can see actually right here, right now, my score is C. My score is 55, but I have a C grade. You start with a C grade. You start with a score of 0, and that's C. Now let me explain a little bit about how the points work. So when you play this game, your ball that you're hitting above the air, you're trying to make it so that it doesn't touch any of these hazards that are around it. But at the same time, you have to, make the ball hit certain objects. So in this level, for example, I have to hit that bug. I have to squash that bug with it, and I also have to collect that blue orb at the very top there. So I did both of those things, and that's great. And I can't hit the red ground. If I do hit the red ground, then I lose 10 points. And then but the ball's HP goes down, right? You can only get to, I think, 3 hits, 2, 1, and then 0. And then if your ball disappears, if you use up all your 3 hits, and you minus 50 points. But if you do that when you have 0 points, it doesn't go down more from 0. So the lowest possible score you can get is 0, which means the lowest possible rating you can have is a C. And that was strange to me. Just that there's no way to lose this game. I guess the only way to lose is to give up, right? It's to pause the game and then quit. But there's no formalized losing state, right? There's no part that the game says, oh no, you lost, try again. There's nothing like that. It's all voluntary. And I thought that was very strange for a game that is about a tournament or a qualifier, right? You're in this big sports center, and the whole idea is that you're going to be a sports star, or at least some sort of cyber volley person, that you're being held as like someone who's not better than others, but you know what I mean? Like, you have some sort of this is what they called qualifiers for, right? You have some sort of objective measurement that you as a person are trying to become. You're trying to be better. You're trying to be really good. And that never was here. You get a grade rating, and then you can retry if you want to, and that's it. And I'm like, why is that happening here? And then beyond that, there was something even weirder, and that was that kind of played into this whole kind of lose state thing. It feels like this whole game is like a personification of a participation trophy. And what I mean by that is, when you are talking to the characters themselves, this is a strange connection that I'm making, but this is the way that I felt. When I'm talking to each of these characters, it's kind of odd because there's no propulsion by the characters. And if you know what I mean by propulsion, what I mean is like narrative propulsion. So when you talk to a character, they just say stuff to you, and that's fine. I'm okay with, characters not exactly propelling the story forward. But what's happening is that when your character is talking to your friend, you have a friend character, and like I said, a spoiled brat kind of character. So you talk to your friend, and what the friend does is she gives you advice, and that's all she does. She doesn't talk to you as a person, doesn't really make comments. I mean, she does every now and then. It's very, very small, though. Most of what she's saying is just advice. And what I think this is kind of like the way that kids would look at someone and say that they're a friend, right? A person who does nothing but gives you good advice. And what's weird about that is that in this game, they actually have a character who's specifically meant to give you advice, and that's the tutorial robot. So like the robot themselves is giving you advice, and they are a tutorial character. They exist for that purpose. This other person, though, is supposed to be your friend, and so I feel like, what's going on with the identity there? The second thing is the insulting character. The brat character, this rich, spoiled girl who insults you every time that you talk to her. Your character doesn't respond in a way that most people would. She doesn't respond emotionally. She kind of responds and taking the moral high ground, which is great, and I love that. I love that she does that. I feel like I'm a person who does that too. Whenever I talk to someone and I have an adversarial tone from that person, I try to de-escalate, right? That's just kind of something that I feel natural in doing. However, I notice that when stories are being told, when you have emotional stories, when you have to propel the story forward with some sort of conflict, that conflict usually comes between characters. And this person, this spoiled rich girl who you talk to in here, has this adversarial tone, and she keeps insulting your character, and your character just brushes it off, and she says things like, "Hey, thanks for the inadvertent advice," or "I like the way you look today," or something like that. And this is totally fine. I don't have a problem with it. The issue comes up in my mind. The feeling of this weirdness is, again, this kind of participation trophy ethereal nature of the game that I feel like is happening here, where it doesn't matter what you do in the game, everything is fine. That's what it feels like. If it doesn't feel like the game's world is pushing any buttons whatsoever. It feels like everything is perfectly fine, and all we're going to do is sit here and relax, which again is great. But the framing of this is very strange, since you're inside of a tournament. You're inside of somewhere that, again, you're supposed to be objectively better than other people in this kind of, qualifiers. You're trying to qualify for something that's good. Now, I haven't beaten the game yet. Like I said, I'm only about 20 levels in or so, and I'm not sure how many levels exists. But when I imagine, when you get down to the last level, perhaps it says you need to get all S ranks, right, and all the other levels before you move on. Maybe that's what happens. I don't know, but I certainly didn't feel that in the very beginning, and I certainly don't feel that through now when I'm playing the game. So it feels like, again, but there's no lose state, right? You cannot lose the game. You can retry levels up to your heart's content. You can just play as many times as you want. You start off with a C grade, and you can't get anything lower than a C grade. The friend character is not really your friend. This insulting character doesn't really do any harm to you. It feels like everything is just kind of here. And that's what was weird about the sob story in the beginning for me, because Sona losing her father and taking care of her mother, it doesn't really, it doesn't add any useful context to the situation. It feels like a bunch of this stuff is just kind of icing that's there for, your base layer of cake, which is, in this case, action puzzle kind of environment. And that's what was weird to me, was that, again, I felt like I was only doing these things as a participation person. I wasn't trying to be better. I wasn't building up a skill, and yet the game feels like it's meant to be that kind of game. It's like it's meant to show that you are a person who is a really skilled person, and it's just not there. I don't feel that at all when I play the game. So that was the strange thing. That was my experience. So that's what I wanted to share before we go into the dev's intentions. So we're going to go into the dev's intentions, but just before we do, I want to check the chat here. Just one person said, reminds me of the basketball in the platformer game called Will You Snail. I have not heard of that game. But yeah, this game certainly is not... I don't know, it is a little unique. I haven't played a game like this before. I would like to check out what you're talking about there. Okay, so let's move on then, since there's not a whole lot. Oh, you said no notes. Makes a lot of sense. Seems like a very safe game. Oh, right, yeah. So I forgot to even talk about actually my conclusion, which was basically that this the way that I felt was that this game was a child's game, like a kid's game. It feels like that. I want to make a comparison to Kirby's Epic Yarn. I know when I played Kirby's Epic Yarn for the first time, I was expecting a Kirby game. And if you've ever played Kirby games, they're very skill heavy. They're not super skill heavy. They're pretty forgiving. You know, they're more forgiving than like Mario or something like that. But you can still die, and you can, I mean, depending on the Kirby game, there's some Kirby games that are much softer. But when you play Kirby's Epic Yarn, it's made specifically for children. It's made specifically for people who just want to experience just what's happening in the world and not necessarily be given a skill, right? Whenever kids play games, like, for example, my nephew, he loves playing Super Mario Bros. Just loves it. But he'll use like the assist mode in Super Mario Wonder, which is great because what that does is it allows you to play the game without having any setbacks, right? Because all he wants to do is immerse himself in this world. Same when he plays Super Mario Bros. On the NES, on the Switch 2 version. When you play that game, there's that rewind feature, right? And so what he does is every time that he dies, he just rewinds a little bit and then, does something different. Basically what people would call save scumming today. And it's interesting because it provides a completely different type of experience. And that's what children's games usually do, is they're not trying to be a skill game. And that's what I thought this game was trying to be at the very end after I analyzed everything. But it's not it doesn't feel like it's a child's game. Like, it doesn't look, I mean, I guess it kind of looks like one with the Game Boy Advance kind of aesthetic, but that's all. Everything else is built toward, like I said, Sona, your character, is trying to qualify as a sports star. Like, this is a pretty hardcore thing, in the fact that she has, a family that she needs to provide for, and thus she can't become a sports star because of that. I feel like that's kind of, pushing us toward that skill-heavy kind of deals, that kind of gameplay. So that was a little strange to me, and that was my first impressions. So, again, let's just get on with the thing. You said, there was a comment that said, no time attack mode. Seems like a missed opportunity. I do wonder, yeah, that's interesting. I wonder why there isn't one. Because there are different modes in here, but they're just mini games. They're, again, and they have the same type of forgiving nature in them. Anyway, let's get to the developer's intentions. So if you're new here, I ask the developer 3 questions when they submit a game, and I play their game before I read their answers, so I can play it blind and try to get my first impressions first. But they do answer the questions, and I'm now going to read them. So this person, who Leonardo was the developer here who developed this game under Helix Star. My first question was, what were you hoping that the player would feel while playing your game? This is going to end. There we go. Okay, here we go. So my first question was, what were you hoping that the player would feel while playing your game? And their answer was, I wanted the player to feel engaged with the character and the ball's movement. I wanted the players to feel rewarded, both by their reflexes and their strategy in positioning the ball. Also, I wanted to make characters with a lot of personality in the game's world. There's your answer. All right. The second question I asked was, why did you choose this experience as opposed to something else? Their answer was, this is my first solo project. Programming is not my expertise, so I came up with a platforming mechanic twist that I'd never seen before, and that I could apply with my coding skills. Just make a character controller, a ball with a rigid body, and put a trigger on the player's head that adds force to that rigid body. It was made as a technical study. Also, I love platformers, and I like to work with non-conventional mechanics. Also, I wanted to make a non-intrusive optional plot points through dialogue. All right. And my last question was, were there specific moments, mechanics, or ideas that you built around that emotional goal? And their answer was, I made the controls as simple as I could, since no extra buttons are required for regular bumps on the ball. I tried to create lighthearted character dialogue. I also show a difficult part of the protagonist's life so as to inspire the players to move on despite life's challenges. I created obstacles that are easily understood so people spend more mental energy on positioning the ball correctly instead of figuring out, quote unquote, the puzzle. So, yeah, interesting answers. The same thing happens, I think, with a lot of these answers, and I think what happens a lot is when someone makes a game, they think of these answers as a post hoc thing. They think of the thing that they made, and then they try to understand what it is from the player's perspective after they have played it. But what I'm looking for is more of your, like whenever I talk about your intent, when I ask, why did you make this game? You know, why this experience and not something else? I'm looking for your original intent, something, the reason why you wanted this experience. And to this person's credit, they did actually say that they, you know, this is their first solo project, and basically what they were trying to do is just create a game that did not use a whole bunch of other things other than just their own programming skills that they had, which were very limited. And so they used this idea of moving a rigid body on top of their character there into their character controller. So there is, you know, there's an intent there, which is great. However, there's no, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of intent on the player's side of things. Like, this person didn't make this game for players. It feels like they made this game for themselves, which is great. I think that's actually what most art, you know, is to do anyway, is that you make a game for yourself so that, you know, you want to feel something, you want to see something that you haven't seen, you know, out in the open somewhere else. And so you just make the game because you like it, and then you give it to other people saying, hey, do you like this game too? That's great. On the game design side of things, on the communication sides of things, this is where things get a little weird, because if people don't, you know, get what that intent is, then they're not going to have that same experience. Now, you don't need this, and, you know, I've talked about this many times before, where if you just make a game that's just the game that you wanted to make, and other people can have it whether or not, you know, they care about actually being involved in the same exact process that you wanted to communicate, that's fine. That doesn't have to happen. You know, I myself made a game called The Door Problem, where I put it out there for other people to experience, and a lot of people were just confused, and that's fine, right? Because what I was trying to do was just a very specific experience. If people got it, then they did, and if they didn't, who cares? But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is intent for the player, right? I guess, in a sense. I don't know if I just sounded like a hypocrite there. Didn't want to. The person was trying to, like, there's not a whole lot of intent with what they were doing other than just creating the game that was just using their light programming language, and that's fine. But I think that speaks a lot to what my experience was, which was there's just open systems that are just here, and because of that, because there's no lose state, because there's no way to fail the game, right? There's no way to push the player forward. It does feel like what it is, which is just a collection of a lot of different mechanics that are just here. You know, that he just wanted to create the mechanics and the levels, and, well, he did that. Get out of here, pause screen. There we go. So, you know, congratulations on making a game, and I think that's really cool that you were able to make something that looks so polished, absolutely, and that plays really, really well. But yeah, as for what it means to the player, for me, it definitely feels like the thematic end of a tech demo, right? A tech demo is there just to kind of create something that is not necessarily a sandbox, but something that just feels like a mechanic in place. But when you take that mechanic that is just a mechanic and that happens, you know, in a vacuum that's only supposed to be itself, and then you wrap it in thematic stuff, like you put this person inside of a cyber volley. Like, why even have that? Why even have the cyber volley kind of world? Why have a character named Sona? Why have the other characters that you're talking to? Why create this whole sob story behind her? why is all this stuff in this game? If this intent was indeed just to create a game just because it was just your first game and that's it, why have all this other stuff? And I feel like what's happening here, like this is complete conjecture. This is just a guess on my end, but I feel like what's happening here is a person who's seen other games and then created a game because they also wanted to create a game, right? And in their mind, I'm thinking what they're thinking is they see a game as a set of mechanics that also has a theme above it, right? It's dressed up with aesthetics and it means something more, right? It has something more on top of it. But because this game, I don't feel like has that thematic end into the mechanics, into the actual gameplay, like you're not actually making the game for that reason, then you have kind of a mismatch. You have kind of a mismatch between the aesthetic environment, right? What you're showing, why the player is doing what they're doing, and then actually giving them the gameplay, and it's just not matching. It doesn't, at least it doesn't for me. It might for other people. For one, deal, you could say that this game is kind of you could say it's a relaxing take on like an action game. You could totally say that, and I could agree with you in the gameplay, but I would not say that it works in the theming, right, and the character dialogue and the setup of the characters themselves and the whole Cyber Volley tournament kind of thing. There's a big mismatch there that I just don't understand, and this is what I really talk about a lot in these videos, and this is game design philosophy. And what that is the reason why you have experience, not the reason, but the experience that you want to share with other players, right? That is the game design philosophy. Like if you think about why you say certain things in games and not other things, right? And this is the reason why I asked that question, why this experience and not a different one? For example, for this game, why would you have a Cyber Volley tournament and not like a Pong type of look game? Why have characters in this game at all instead of like just moving dots, right? Why add all this other stuff? And when I ask that question, what it's meant to evoke is like this kind of deeper kind of thought process where you're thinking, right, okay, so what was it I was thinking when I added those elements? This is something that I had a very hard time with when I first started doing filmmaking. Or in my photo class. I've talked about this before, but I had a photo class in film school where we were meant to go take photos of something that inspired us, right? And something that I did in that photo class was I took a picture of a garbage can, and I figured I was going to use that object as my inspiration. And so I took some pretty bad pictures of the garbage can, and I kept moving closer to the can to try to I don't know, just inspire myself. And I eventually got to the chain, to where the chain connected the garbage can to like this pole in the park. And I got some really cool macro shots of the chain. I thought it was really, really interesting. And I shared that with the class, right? I shared that roll of something like 80 photos and when we were doing our presentation. And one of the things that my teacher had said was like, as soon as he pulled up the pictures, and the first picture is just this ugly shot, this wide shot of a garbage can in the middle of a park, and it just looks really bad. And he usually has some sort of comment. As soon as he brought it up, it was silent. He was like, huh. And then he moved on to a next one. He went, huh. And then he was about to ask me why I took those pictures until he got to the pictures of the chain, and then he started seeing my intent. And he said, oh, these macro shots look really good, right? And then we started talking about macro photography. But that first part, he had asked me, he went back to those first pictures and he said, so why'd you take these? And I was like, ooh, immediately blank slate. Immediately blank mind, right? I had no idea why I had taken those pictures. And I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell him, I don't know why I didn't take them, right? If I think about why I took them, if I went back to the actual point of me pressing the photo, I think what was happening was I was trying to log the object in my mind, and I was saying, this is a garbage can, and I'm going to go in from the wide to the very narrow, and then once I get to the narrow, then I'll unlock my potential, right, my inspiration. That was the type of stuff that I'm talking about here. That's what philosophy is when it comes to a directed philosophy. Like when we're talking about design philosophy, that's what that is. my whole thing with the garbage can, that would be, I guess you could call photo philosophy or whatever. It's the intent, right? It's the intent behind the design. It's the intent behind your will to do something, right? That is what I'm talking about here. And so when I see things like this, when I see Cyber Volley, what I see a lot actually with a lot of developers is that they will create a game without having known that initial intent, and then they'll release it not having known that they didn't have an intent going into it. It's more just like a practice of mechanics. And if that's all it is, then that's great. I think that's totally fine. And I'm not speaking against that. I'm just saying from the player's perspective, and certainly from my perspective in this case, they're going to be confused. And in my case, I certainly see a dissonance between the thematic elements and the gameplay. You could call that ludonarrative dissonance. You can call that whatever you want. That's not exactly what I'm getting at. It's just the intent behind the game. Why is it that I'm playing? And, what is it going to do for me as I play the game? That's the question that we're trying to answer here. So there you go. So that was my spiel. I'm going to go to the chat here. We have a game about juggling. It says Zigadri. Zigadri? Is that your name? Yeah, basically a game about juggling. What I fear about games is that it acts like a blueprint for the next fictional game. I want the first game to be the best of itself. Sequel is meant to expand on the idea. I wanted to create game in my youth, but lose interest because there are other vehicles. I learned that video game is a medium to respect. It's serious. A video game always an intent, a direction. It helps sorting features. All right. I think I agree with most of your sentiment there. We have Secret Weapon says, there doesn't seem to be a core experience beyond navigating and getting good in the system. It's kind of one of those things that I was wondering if this is any different from, say, any type of game, and this is an odd kind of thing that I was thinking about. And I was thinking, like, why is it that this game feels like it doesn't care about me? Whereas when I play a game like Super Mario Bros., it feels like I'm building a skill for a purpose. Where I'm in this game, I feel like I'm building a skill without a purpose. I'm just building the skill for no reason. And I think it's because of that direction, right? Because you have win states, lose states. You see what you're trying to do in a game like Devil Daggers is actually a really good example, because that game has one mechanic and it's just shooting and moving, and that's all it is. But you have a very, very, specific direction that you're going toward, right? There's a very specific thing that you're trying to do. Get all of kill all these things around you, survive as long as you can, right? Vampire Survivors, that's another one, right? Survive for as long as you can, killing everything around you. It's so easy to identify those things, but it's because there are literal win states and lose states, and this one does not have either, and I think that's probably what sets it apart. A new question comment says, maybe the developers find the questionnaire difficult to answer. I think it might be a good idea to explain the answers you are seeking. I do actually do that in the questionnaire. They are difficult answers, and I give these all developers a pass, because not only are they difficult to answer from a developer perspective, but from just a person's perspective. Even if you're an artist and you know that you have an intent behind something, it's really difficult to look in on your own work and try to pull out what that intent was. And so I complain about it. It's just because I'm that kind of person. I think about intent quite a lot with just about everything that I do, but I'm not perfect, right? I do the same kind of shit, all the time. It's for sure, it's a difficult question, but I actually do in the questionnaire explain the different types of answers that I'm looking for. I have example answers that I give, and there's been some people that have answered my questions really, really well, like some really, really good stuff, and I really like that. So yeah, that is everything I have to say about this game. And if you guys have any questions, post them. But yeah, that's everything. I thought the game, like I said before, it's a lot of fun playing the game. And I do really wish that it had directed me a little bit more, just because I do like the skill that I'm building in this game, and I'd like to see more depth to it, or more use out of it at least. And I do want to beat the game. I have a hard time wanting to, again, because of that direction. But I do want to beat the game to see where this person has taken that story, if there is a conclusion for it. The inclusion of that sob story, I think, is a little strange because I don't think it really connects with the gameplay at all. I mean, there are some people, I believe, who, like seeing a story that's disconnected from gameplay and they just want to play the game and see the story separately. It's like reading the book and playing the game at the same time, which, they have games that are like that. Some people like that. That's totally fine. So I do want to beat the game to see, what it is that this person was trying to do with it, just to see where their mind went. So thanks again, everyone. Love you guys. I really appreciate you coming here. I will try to edit this into a good thing, into a better thing, and drop that video on my channel. So I will see you guys another time. Secret Weapon says, the end reveals you took so long to win the competition, the grading time. That would be amazing if that was the actual end. I was wondering, like, who is it that's at home taking care of the mom when you're over here in Cyber Volley Town, doing all your stuff here. It's very strange. All right. Thank you guys for being here again. I will talk to all of y'all later. Peace out. I'm going to let this roll actually for 10 seconds longer because I know I'm behind on the stream. So we'll see if I end the stream now. Do I say it now? Do I do it now? Here we go. Boom.